Listen to me. If there was a wise man who would ever think of this, they would say in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. For I am the man himself. AEW, and Tony Khan. You guys keep giving me a reason to want to come up here and watch this show. Oh gosh, it just has to be on a Saturday, and there's so much other wrestling to watch. Ah, goodness. This show was so good that it has me wanting to DVR next week's Collision, despite the fact that it's SummerSlam weekend, and I will also be on the road next weekend also. So I am that crazy that I am going to be DVRing next week's Collision as well. And I'm probably going to make these a separate playlist, because I've been reviewing a decent amount of episodes of Collision. Well, one I was going to review, but then I tied it in with my Dynamite review. But yeah, I expect to be doing, not all the time still, but a little more often than another, a Collision review. So yeah, again, a separate playlist is now going to be available for Collision. They still won't be guaranteed weekly, but they will still be happening. So what is going on, guys? This is the Club of the Man 1993, and we are here for a review of this week's episode of AEW Collision, the July 29th, 2023 edition of Collision. It took place in Hartford, Connecticut, which is not too far from a certain person's home in another company that I'm pretty sure he absolutely despises AEW. He knows he will be kicking Collision's ass in the ratings next week, unfortunately, but doesn't matter. They're swinging, because even though they may not get the viewership next week, they will still have high DVR numbers. And people are going to be watching because they want to see the real World Championship get defended between Ricky Starks and the real AEW World Champion, One Bill Phil, CM Punk. And I'm excited. I actually, again, and also the special guest referee, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. I am very, again, that match alone made me say, I gotta see next week's episode of Collision. And at some point, expect a review of next week's episode of Collision. But of course, we will see. We shall see for sure what it brings us. So yeah, let's roll in and talk about this excellent show. We opened up with a ladder match with Buddy Matthews, and Andrade El Idolo. And the stipulation is Andrade's mask is hanging at the top. And of course, they have to climb the ladder to retrieve Andrade's mask. These two had an outstanding match, as I expected, on the debuting episode of Collision. And I expected better in this match. And I sure as hell got better in this match. This was, again, these two, which first off, it's basically the SmackDown Women's title match at WrestleMania, except they're men. Charlotte's men, Andrade El Idolo, versus Rhea's man, Buddy Matthews. And these two have awesome chemistry in the ring. They really do. Again, Andrade is definitely one of the best. He could definitely be the face of a company. Buddy Matthews, I always say, he may be a tag partner. He may be in like a cruiserweight division. He is so overlooked. Again, he is a guy that I wasn't a fan of at first. And I wasn't a fan of his until he was in that Cruiserweight Championship tournament. And then I became a fan. He's lost most of his singles matches in AEW. But any opportunity he gets to wrestle a singles match, he just kills it. There was a lot of awesome, great maneuvers, fast-paced, stiff, high-flying match, as it was some great spots in there for sure as well. It was very well done. And then, including Andrade doing a sunset flip powerbomb through a bridge ladder, which looked like it hurt Buddy, but he got through it. There was a point where I think there was a point in the match also where I think Buddy Matthews separated his shoulder, dislocated his shoulder, I think it was. And during a commercial break, they popped it right back into place, and he kept on going. What a badass. And then, towards the end of the match, the finish was genius. So, on the outside of the ring, Julia Hart was there. And she had a pair of handcuffs. And they handcuffed Andrade to the ring post. And then Buddy tried to tag with a chair, but he had a kickback in his face. And when Julia went to check on Buddy, she dropped the key, and Andrade was able to reach the key and uncuff himself from the handcuffs. And someone in the crowd literally said, "Way to go, Julia." But anyways, Andrade got the better of it, and he managed to handcuff Buddy before throwing the key into the crowd. But then Julia Hart got bolt cutters and were able to cut them from the ring post, so Buddy would be free. And Buddy went up to meet Andrade there, and Buddy got knocked down. And Andrade continued to climb towards his mask, but then Julia Hart climbed the ladder and managed to climb over onto the other side, and she slapped Andrade multiple times. If this was WWE, I'll bet you anybody, Charlotte Flair would have came out and stopped Julia Hart. Heck, if Charlotte Flair would have left WWE for some weird reason, she probably would have debuted in this match and stopped Julia from ruining Andrade's match. But Andrade himself basically felt the presence of his wife, and he went, "Nope, not getting this bitch," and he pushes her off the ladder. He pushed Julia Hart off the ladder, and she lands into Buddy Matthews, and they both went through a table that was set up earlier. And I left it alone, and he won his mask back. I guess that's it for this feud. Being a bummer. I mean, they could have built towards a match they still possibly could between Malachi and Andrade for All In or All Out, which, by the way, still no match is made official on this this AEW episode. But, of course, it got mentioned later on in the show by a certain One Bill Phil, as I'll continue to call him, because I really enjoyed that nickname. But if you want to do Andrade and Malachi one-on-one on pay-per-view, go for it. Again, we all know, they had two really good matches that always stand out to me. First was Black's first match in NXT, and then the match where Black dethroned Andrade for the NXT Championship. We all know those two can go. So I do kind of hope they do give them a pay-per-view match of some sort at the upcoming pay-per-views. Miro was talking about a battle coming soon before he got attacked by Aaron Solo. Who that battle is going to be against, I don't know. Some say Powerhouse Hobbs, but didn't they just split Powerhouse Hobbs up from QTV? And I don't think QT Marshall and Miro would be that great of a match either, because I just don't give a crap about QT Marshall. But yeah, Miro beat down Aaron solo, and then he deals with the attack and screams, Schiavone! Which why? I'm not sure, but then again, I don't watch every single episode of Collision, that might be why. Darby Allin was supposed to take on a surprise opponent. That surprise opponent was Minoru Suzuki, which ended up being another great match. Very physical match, very challenging match for Darby Allin, but he still won because Darby went for the coffin drop, and when he came down, he landed right into Suzuki's sleeper, but Darby rolled over just enough to keep Suzuki's shoulders down and get the 3 count on a roll-up. And then, of course, Suzuki was just like all pissed off afterwards. There was no way of turning it around. Afterwards, though, there's a promo from Christian Cage and Luchasaurus. Christian, who, of course, is still holding Luchasaurus' TNT Championship, he congratulated Darby, and he said it seems he's ready for a TNT title shot. But he's got a lot of distractions right now. And he can't be distracted when he's fighting for a title. The title is more prestige now than ever, and Darby's no longer qualified to challenge for it. And Christian vows to send him back to work at Hot Topic, and then he got which got a laugh from the crowd. I think I heard that they're going to be wrestling one of the pay-per-views. Well, Luchasaurus and Darby Allin, okay? Of course, Christian Cage will still continue to take credit for this championship run, even though it's not his, it is Luchasaurus's. Samoa Joe beat Gravity. My favorite part of the match, of course, was when Joe, again, is in his full element. Some people would do like a dive or whatnot, or like go for a splash, and he just like walks away like, yeah, that was nothing. This time instead, he does like a slow-mo strut as he got out of Gravity's way. And after that, he basically just hit some more punches, dominated Gravity, and hit a muscle buster, and that was that. Joe dominated. All right, let's get to this segment with CM Punk. Or again, as I continue to call him for when he said in his return promo, One Bill Phil. So Punk comes out, and he was wearing a shirt that on the back it said, I'm a Collision guy. And of course he got some boos, he got a lot of cheers. And he's still carrying that red bag. And Schiavone asks him once again, what is in the bag? And Punk says, before he can talk about that, how is Hartford doing tonight? And of course, it kind of like looked like he was kind of like feeling out the crowd to see if they loved him or if they hated him. He said, I'm pretty good. It's been weeks of rotten travel, and he just showed up 2 hours ago, but he would never let them down. He always makes his towns and shows up for people in the building. And there's a lot going on in AEW. And there's a lot going on with Collision that nobody wants to meet head on. Nobody wants to talk about it. But he will. First, he mentions Wembley Stadium. Will CM Punk be wrestling on that show? And then he says, well, maybe we'll know by the end of the night, which cracked me up because, again, that's the rumor mill going around that people are, including myself, concerned that they, again, still have not announced one single match for Collision yet. But he said that, but it has a lot to do with what's in the bag. So I don't know if this was like a tease for a possible match, which is going to happen either All In or All Out, probably, I'd say. But he also mentions that Ricky Starks has a lot to do with what's in the bag. And since I more to talk about this in my Diamond review, there is some stuff going on with CM Punk and Samoa Joe. And there's also stuff going on with CM Punk and Ricky Starks. Because Ricky Starks beat CM Punk not clean to win the Owen Hart Men's World Cup. And the story basically is that Ricky hasn't been able to have success in AEW unless he cheats. So he's a cheater. And he's a heel again. But then he mentioned that Starks beat him twice. Once in singles and once in tag. But he disappointed Punk by cheating the way he did. And he goes to open the bag and he says it's not so much that he's been carrying it around, it's that he's been left holding it. The thing about responsibility is that it sucks sometimes, and you gotta wake up and do some things you don't want to do because you're the adult in the room. So what's in the bag? And then the fans chant for it when he did, of course, the Hulk Hogan ear thing. And he says, I think Ricky's a cheater. I think he's mistaken my kindness for weakness. But like he said when he first came back, he's not being nice anymore. So he took out the item in the bag, and sure enough, it's the AEW World Championship. And he calls himself the rightful holder of the champion. He has technically never been beaten for it, and it still has his blood on it from when he beat Jon Moxley last September. It's got his name on it, and it's got his blood on it. Then he took out black spray paint and sprayed a black X on it. And of course, some people say it's controversial. He sprayed it over the E, taking a shot at the Elite, because that's an X over the E for the Elite. But also, it was clearly just his symbol. And he says that this X has represented him since 1997. He's built his career on it. The X means he's straight edge, and straight edge means he's better than you. The title is his. It belongs on Collision, and it is not stolen, unlike his catchphrase, best in the world. And he declares himself the real world champion. Then Ricky Starks come out and tell him to hold up. And he says, first, let me do my full entrance. So everyone can act like he wasn't just here for a second. That'd be great. And then he comes out with his full entrance. And then commentary just like overhypes it, basically how it was. But he came out. And Punk just stood there with a title on his shoulder. He kept looking at his wrist like he was pressed for time. And then Ricky gets on the mic and says, Punk told a great story. But Ricky is kind of sold on gold right now. Regardless of how Punk feels about how things went, Punk would have done the same thing. I bit you before you ever bit me, pal. And he says he feels he is owed the title on Punk's shoulder because he's beaten Punk not once but twice. He calls himself the real world champion and also the face of Collision. Punk then calls him a cheater, pumpkin eater. Well, not literally, but you know. But he says, did you beat me twice or did the referees beat me? Ricky says he could have Stevie Wonder as the ref and he would still beat Punk. So he claims that title should be his. And of course, Punk's like, sounds like you want a title shot. And Ricky's like, I deserve one. And then the fans chant for both. It's going to duel, and then Punk says, you got it, but if we're going to wrestle, then I'm going to need a special guest referee. And considering what's happened before, and Starks is like, well, no one likes you, you got no friends. So wherever he has to go to dig someone up, maybe even Stamford, of course, because, you know, that's where, you know, Vince McMahon lives. Whoever it is, he doesn't care because he's going to win anyway. Punk said he anticipated this, and he already found somebody. And that somebody is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Because he's never cheated once in his life, and he's the most trusted athlete in history. And that match is made official for next week, because obviously they have to have something to compete against SummerSlam. So we're going to get a real world title match with CM Punk and Ricky Starks. And the special guest referee is no one other than Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. That match there, I'm like, I'm sold. I do have the DVR next week's Collision. And I will. Like, that match sold me on it. Speaking of title matches, we're not done. Well, we didn't get the... we're not there yet, but The next match we got were the Guns and Juice Robinson versus El Hijo del Vikingo, Action Andrade, and Darius Martin, a 6-man tag match. It was fun. I still, again, don't really take the Guns seriously. Again, them being in the Bullet Club Gold's a little bit random, but character-wise, they get the job done. Just in the ring, they're still not the most impressive thing to me. But the heels actually do win the match. I think El Hijo del Vikingo, and I forgot who it was. And Commander, I think it was, or fight for the Ring of Honor tag titles, I think, this coming week on Collision. I mean, not Collision. On Dynamite 200. I think that's what it is. I'm not sure. But that was hyped up. Now let's talk about championships. We had Kiera Hogan take on Mercedes Martinez in an excellent, excellent match. Mercedes Martinez, which I've been a fan of hers since the Mae Young Classics. I definitely think WWE dropped the ball with her big time for sure, especially when they threw her into Retribution, which she got herself out of. She hasn't had a heck of a lot of TV time, though, yet in AEW. She's been more of a Ring of Honor person, I think. But if you want to have her on Collision, cool with me. She beat Kiera Hogan in a great match. She wouldn't let go. And out comes the TBS champion, Kris Statlander. Little surprised to see Kris Statlander. I thought maybe they would keep her more exclusive to Dynamite since that's on TBS. But I guess she's floating between both shows too. I don't know. But she comes into the ring and makes the save. And she dropped the title and checked on Kiera Hogan. Mercedes, though, picks it up and blasted Statlander with it. Standing over her saying she's coming for the belt. And next week, we're going to get a title match. Also, another title match to compete with SummerSlam. Kris Statlander and Mercedes Martinez. Which that'll be great. And we also were told throughout the show that I guess last night on Friday night on Rampage, that Battle Royale was won by the blind tag team of The Machine, Brian Cage, and Big Bill. So they will also be getting a tag title match next week on Collision against the winner of the main event of this week's show, FTR, and then Better Than You, baby! So we had that. Will Nightingale also came out to save Kris Statlander. And Mercedes finally backed up. Then it was main event time. Again, this was the main reason why I wanted to watch this week's episode. It's the Tag Team Championship match. The champions, FTR, take on the winners of the Blind Tag Team Eliminator Tournament, Better Than You, baby, Adam Cole, and the AEW World Champion, MJF. And we all wondered, will this be the night that MJF turns on Adam Cole if they don't win those titles? And again, phenomenal match. Phenomenal match. Again, the chemistry between Adam Cole and MJF is on the charts. Is off the charts. So much so, people were booing FTR in this match. And it's been a long time since they've had FTR get booed. Which, of course, that's just the crowd reacting because they're really behind this pairing with MJF and Adam Cole. Of course, they were hyping the double clotheslines. Adam Cole was MJF kept hyping that he at some point wanted to punt Dax Harwood in the balls, which he did later when the referee wasn't looking, and Harwood tied him in the corner. He's like, 4, and he went running and went for the punt and this and that and whatnot. There were several attempts on the double clothesline. I think they went for the shatter machine once or twice. A lot of great near falls, a lot of great storytelling moments. And again, Adam Cole, MJF again doing some aerial moves, some sunset flips, or not sunset flips, other agility maneuvers that, again, I keep saying, the character shows that he can definitely do that stuff, but he chooses not to. But it's the crowd's fighting to get behind him, and he's still not allowing them. and Adam Cole's trying to keep him in check, which again just makes the chemistry even better. Again, several great near falls in the match. Again, just storytelling again off the chart. But then eventually, though, there was a time also where I think it was Cash Wheeler and MJF were countering like the positioning for what's it called again? Pile drivers. And Adam Cole, I think, like super kicked whoever MJF was holding, causing him to do like a sunset flip or something, and for like a roll up. It was very sick. Again, plenty of close near falls in this match, and so much great teamwork between both teams, of course. I mean, we all know FTRs, but especially also with Adam Cole and MJF. Showing that it definitely took the time to build the trust, but these two seemingly trust each other. And then, of course, towards the end of the match, they were setting up Adam Cole for the Shatter Machine. But then MJF pushes Adam Cole out of the way and takes the bullet for them. They go for the Shatter Machine, and he avoided it, but then he got rolled up, and FTR pinned the AEW World Champion MJF to retain the tag titles. And then again, afterwards we got some cinema. Again, this gave me Bloodline vibes. This gave me Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn reuniting vibes with this afterhand. So first, Adam Cole shows a sign of respect and shakes the champ's hand, saying good match. MJF was in the corner just terribly upset. Adam Cole then goes to console MJF. And MJF screaming out, I blew it, I lost the match. Adam Cole's, no, we blew it. We lost the match. And then Cole goes to get the world title. And I thought at first, that's going to set MJ off again, because it set him off earlier on Dynamite this week. And then Cole hands him his title, and MJF saying, you are still the world champion. But MJF was so upset about losing. MJF gets up as Adam Cole walks away, and his back was turned. And you can see the look on the face of MJF. Obviously that he wants to whack Adam Cole with the title. And I think we hear people in the crowd saying, Adam, look out! And Adam Cole, who still had his back turned to Max, I think looks up at the Tron and sees that what's going on behind him. And he was like, damn it, I knew this was happening. And he goes, I knew it. Just do what you gotta do, Max. Just do what you gotta do. And he holds his arm out. And then MJF, instead of attacking Adam Cole, even though they just lost the match, MJF tosses the title aside. Cole turns around, obviously shocked. The fans are chanting, hug it out. And then him and MJF embrace, and the crowd popped. And then Cole gave MJF the title, raised his hand. It was kind of like a moment where, it's like, this story needed like a moment like this. Like that moment where it's like, you know the turn is coming, but they can't make the turn so obvious. And this is kind of like, we've entered a stage where we don't know when it's going to happen. Again, CM Punk is calling himself the real world champion. MJF, who was on this episode of Collision, did not acknowledge that. So I'm thinking either we will get Adam Cole and MJF at All In, or even though I still think they would much rather have CM Punk headline All Out in Chicago, either one of those shows, we could see CM Punk take on MJF and have the story where Adam Cole needs MJF to basically get down, get dirty, and play his game. Adam Cole won't. And maybe this is where CM Punk wins the title, and maybe that's where MJF turns on Adam Cole. And after they settle their differences, maybe at Full Gear, we can do CM Punk versus Adam Cole. Just saying. But anyways, the double clothesline and Better Than You, baby, still lives on. For now. Again, it's a big for now. This team is not going to be long term. But now, of course, we have no idea when the heartbreaking turn will happen. But it is coming. I promise you that. And that's Collision, guys. Again, another fantastic show. A-, and I definitely want to see that match with CM Punk and Ricky Starks for the real world title next week. So I'm planning on doing another Collision review next week. With how busy I am this week, and of course I have my SummerSlam preview, there's a chance. It's not definite. If it's definite, I will announce it. There's a chance I may cancel the Raw and SmackDown reviews. Because if the shows aren't worth it, and with how busy I am this week, I may just skip that and just do the SummerSlam preview. But I will still review Dynamite. And I will do next Saturday's episode of Collision. But again, I have to DVR it because I will be at SummerSlam. I will be there live with my wife and 2 nephews. So, again, I do think it's going to be a show that we're checking out, though. So, again, I'm going to DVR it. And again, Tony Khan, you keep making me want to come back with this show. Again, I just don't know what it is. Like, Dynamite's good. Collision, though, again, there's just something unique about it. I don't know what it is, but it's been awesome. I think I've only missed 2 shows, since it first came out. I think just 2. I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on it. And I think this is the 3rd or 4th show that I've reviewed. Again, I didn't do a separate review for the one with the finals of the Owen Hart Cup. I did briefly touch on it in my Dynamite review the following week. But, again, I think a playlist needs to be made for these Collision reviews, as I think they will be happening a little more often than I thought. Because, again, this CM Punk and the real world title stuff is definitely some really good stuff. And, of course, stuff with MJF and Adam Cole. But that's more for Dynamite. This is a rare appearance probably from both of them on Collision. So, we'll see what happens going forward. But, yes, that card for next week is stacked. Okay, we have the Punk and Starks match. We're going to have Kris Statlander and Mercedes Martinez for the TBS title. And, again, now we know we're going to be getting the FTR versus Brian Cage and Big Bill for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. So, I'm excited. So, guys, that's my thoughts on this week's episode of Collision. What are your guys' thoughts on this week's episode of Collision? Make sure you guys leave your thoughts down in the comments section below. Be sure, as always, to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. And follow me on Twitter at TheClubOfTheMan93. And also follow me on TikTok and Instagram at TheClubOfTheMan1993. And until then, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you guys all later. And do not forget, in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. And for I am the man himself.